What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Trae, and as usual, I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. Now, today we're going to talk about 2027, because there's some upcoming NBA teams that I'm looking forward to seeing how they actually perform. And they're at the bottom of the barrel right now. Well, okay, maybe not all of them, but some of them are entertaining to watch. As of right now, and next season, I think we could put some expectations such as playoffs on them. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about some of these teams. And to be clear, most of the teams that I'm about to list off, you've been looking at the squads, you've seen them, right? And you don't think there's much going on this season for the playoffs. You don't. We've seen these organizations kind of be a little lackluster. And now I think they have the opportunity to turn their franchise, their organization around, perception-wise. Now, one of these teams, you can argue because they were in the playoffs pretty decently, could have won the championship, and that's the Indiana Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam, and Ivica Zubac. That would be next year's starting five, to my knowledge. Could they make some changes? Sure, but as of right now, that's the projected starting five that we got for the Pacers, which does seem interesting, especially if Tyrese Halliburton can come back from his ACL tear, right? And if everybody returns to what we saw or even get better. But here's the thing. TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, Jay Huff, good versatile players to bring off the bench. At least serviceable. Could we have a better bench? Sure, but they're solid. The 2026 draft pick that they have, that one's looking a little interesting because it's supposed to be top 5. And that could be Cam Boozer, Caleb Wilson. If they get the number 1 pick, that really makes things interesting because they could get AJ DeBansa, and I'm telling you right now, Buddy is smooth. They can go Darren Peterson. There's a lot of options that these Pacers can go, especially top 5 in this draft class. But thinking about that team next season, they got to the finals in the past. While yes, they went up against some injured teams at times, they still showcased that they played well. They went to a Game 7 versus OKC. Tyrese Halliburton did his thing. I think this team you got to pay attention to, especially with the top 5 pick. Imagine if we get Cam Boozer or Caleb Wilson. That's somebody who eventually will replace Pascal Siakam. But here's the crazy thing. You can play either player alongside Pascal Siakam, alongside Ivica Zubac. And it's similar in terms of production when you're looking at the established players of Pascal Siakam and Ivica Zubac. And I'm basing this off talent, not NBA production, because these players have not played in the NBA yet. But the Pacers, you got to watch out for, because they'll at minimum make things interesting from a playoff perspective. Now, I'm going to give them a year grace because, again, Tyrese Halliburton come back off injury, not playing basketball and professionally, in the NBA at least, for a whole year. That's a lot. So I'm expecting there to be some rust, some miscues, some missed times, right? So I'm expecting them to be a lower seed playoff team. Could they vault up to the top? There may be a world, but the Pacers being more relevant, especially depending on which draft pick they get, y'all got to pay attention to. So again, Indiana Pacers, they're one of my teams to look forward to seeing next season. Now, the Washington Wizards, this is another team. Now, it's not because I'm from the DMV. It's because they've actually done things that some people might have been hesitant to do. They get Trae Young. Trae Young's had some injury issues, right? The Hawks have been perceived as mid for quite some time. But Trae Young has been viewed as a top-tier guard in the NBA. So we got Trae Young as the starter. We know they signed Anthony Davis. Cool. So their starting lineup projected for me could be Trae Young, Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, Anthony Davis, and Alex Sarr. Now, the Washington Wizards also have good players coming off the bench. I like Trey Johnson. Justin Champagne is pretty decent. Sharif Cooper can hoop a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I do like him. The Wizards got some talent. Now, could Sharif end up remaining on this team? That's we got to wait to see, because both him and Trae are short guards, so they may want to bring in a bigger guard, which they already have Bub Carrington, right? So it's going to be interesting to see who they end up keeping the Wizards meeting. But let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, they have a top 5 projected pick in this upcoming 2026 draft. Now, with this, let's say they get number 1. All right, do they go AJ DeBonsa? I think you do. But I've also heard Cam Boozer's name, Caleb Wilson's name, Darren Peterson could play alongside Trae Young, and he has combo guard skills. I know at Kansas he has not been assisting that much, but coming out of high school, he was his team's point guard. So he has that ability. But if you don't go Darren, I think you go Caleb in this situation, just because Anthony Davis gets injured. Yes, you can also get Cam Boozer. That could be interesting depending on what pick you get. But a top 5 pick, I think we're finally expecting this for the Washington Wizards. They've been at the bottom of the barrel for quite some time. So next season, you got 2 all-star, all-NBA caliber players on your team, plus an arguable top pick on your squad. You got the number 2 pick from just a few seasons ago. Bilal Coulibaly's pretty decent on offense and defense. A solid two-way player who I think will be on France's 2028 team. Stay tuned. Keyshawn George been hooping. I think Washington Wizards, you got to watch out for them. And especially because these boys could go as high as a 4th or 5th seed in the East. They have the talent to do so. They got the bodies to do so. Is their coaching good enough? Those are questions that we got to figure out come next season. But at least from a talent collection standpoint, if everybody's healthy, you can expect to watch the Washington Wizards in the playoffs next season. And keep in mind, if they're all healthy, it's scary. Yes, Anthony Davis has been known to be Mr. Glass. I hear that. But even without Anthony Davis, they could still sneak into the playoffs in the East. I'm just saying, especially with a top 5 pick. But we got to wait to see. Now, another team that I got to highlight, the Utah Jazz. They have a treasure trove of players. My personal opinion. I genuinely like this team. But here's the crazy thing. I'm going to list off their top 5, their starting 5, right? It's going to be a little weird to say, because some of these players aren't in their starting 5, which is stupid. But Isaiah Collier, he's not in their starting 5, to be clear, but he should be. He's their best point guard. Keontae George, he's a bucket getter. Lauri Markkanen, we know who he is. Jaren Jackson Jr., former depoy. Walker Kessler. Hey, yo. We have 3 players on this team, 6'11" and above. Jaren Jackson Jr. is the shorter player on the front court, and he's already won a depoy. He can stretch the floor out. We can play 4 out, 1 in. Imagine a pick and roll with Walker Kessler, or a pick and roll with Jaren or Lauri, and you got Isaiah or Keontae. Isaiah is a solid playmaker. Keontae is a quality bucket getter. And then off the bench, you got Ace Bailey, Kyle Filipowski. I like these 2 players. Could they go a little deeper? I think they can. I think they do. But those are the players that have stood out to me, because also they have a top 5 pick, ladies and gentlemen. And this is pretty smooth. Now, if they get the number 1 pick, I think they go AJ DeBonsa, which would be crazy to see, because he was at Utah Prep, then went to BYU, and now on the Utah Jazz. Hey, yo. But here's the crazy thing. Would you, if you get the number 1 pick in your Utah, keep your team the way it is and add AJ, maybe potentially bring one of these players off the bench, or bring AJ off the bench? Would you do that, or would you look to move one of these players for future draft capital or future young players? That could be interesting to follow along with as well, too. Because I know some people who say that Lauri Markkanen is not going to be on the team that much longer, which I can understand that. He's arguably their biggest trade chip. But they did just make a couple of moves with Jaren Jackson Jr. So it does make me question what the Utah Jazz will do. But let's not get it twisted. Next season, I expect the Jazz to be in the thick of things when it comes to the playoffs. Off talent, we can see a 6 seed. I can see a 6 seed out the West. I can. For this Jazz squad, I can, especially if everybody's healthy. If not, that's another discussion. But again, top 5 pick, this starting 5, that's quality. That is quality work. And this team also is trying to put Ace Bailey in the starting lineup. So now you got Keontae George, who's 6'5", Ace Bailey as the 2, and then everyone else the same way. Your smallest person is 6'5", and you got a 6'10" shooting guard. I have my gripes about Ace Bailey, but that's a possibility as well, too. I like what the Utah Jazz can offer. So the Utah Jazz fans, hey, enjoy your season, because it's going to be a good one come next season. I promise y'all. Now, another team that we got to talk about, the Charlotte Hornets. Oh, my gosh. They got LaMelo Ball, Con Knuppel, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and Moussa Diabate. When coming off the bench, you got Kobe White, who easily can be a 6th Man of the Year candidate. Sion James, very solid lockdown defender. Ryan Kalkbrenner, who is a 7-footer. You can't scoff at a 7-footer in today's game. And he's decent. Grant Williams, who's been on the Celtics before, he has a good pedigree in terms of championship DNA. No, he's not a champion, but he's been in the finals. He has playoff experience. That matters. Josh Green, quality defender, a solid 2-way player. So I like what the Charlotte Hornets are doing, and their lottery pick, or their pick this year, could be in the lottery. So could you flip that lottery pick maybe for, let's say, another player? That could be possible. Or maybe you get a young player and just add them to the rotation. And then y'all get that playoff experience. I wholeheartedly expect the Charlotte Hornets to be in the playoffs come next season. LaMelo Ball, especially if everybody's healthy. LaMelo Ball, off talent, is one of the best NBA point guards in the game. Con Knuppel is one of the better shooters in the game. And keep in mind, he's a rookie. Remember, he went to the final round in the 3-point contest. That's nothing to scoff at. And quite frankly, if Dame won't hoop in the way he shot, and if Book won't hoop in the way he shot, there's a world where Con could have won that. Because again, it was 3 people in the finals. Brandon Miller, 6'9" shooting guard, small forward. He can put the ball in the basket. I'll give him credit. He can put the ball in the basket. Miles Bridges, the only thing I got to question is what do they need to add? Because they got the defenders. Maybe Brandon's going to have to defend a little bit more. Miles, you got to be a lockdown defender as well, too, from a forward perspective. So maybe they could use a little bit more perimeter defense. Con's okay. I wouldn't call him a lockdown defender. But again, they got Sion James out there. So if they need a defender, they can do that. They got Josh Green out there already. So they have players who can play defense, and their starters, I can't say, are trash on the defensive end. So I really like the Charlotte Hornets and their makeup. We just got to figure out what their coaching is looking like. Because in the thick of things, that's going to tell us whether or not they need to trade coaches or not. Fire their coach and get a new one. But I do like the Charlotte Hornets and what they can bring to next season. That's going to be interesting. Now, my final team, in terms of the new upcoming teams, right? This team has kind of been here for a little minute. I'll give you. But it's got to be the Atlanta Hawks. Listen, I love what these boys have done. Only question for me is, are they missing that big man, that 7-footer? Everybody else, every team, the Pacers, the Wizards, the Jazz, the Hornets, everybody else has a 7-footer on their squad. The Hawks, they don't. They boast a team that could go Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jonathan Kuminga, Jalen Johnson, and Onyeka Okongwu. Everybody on the team is 6'6" and above. Now, to be clear, though, that above stretches out to about 6'10", and that's because of Jalen Johnson. So, again, Onyeka Okongwu about 6'8". That's their center. Now, he plays pretty daggone well. He can move them puppies. He can defend. I like Onyeka Okongwu personally. But when I'm thinking about the Joel Embiids, the Nikola Jokics, He should do decently against Cat, but even Cat on an occasion can get a little saucy. Jalen Duren is strong as the ox, 6'11". How do they deal with those big centers that can actually play well? When Wemby starts to get a little stronger, how does Onyeka Okongwu do against Wemby? How do the Hawks do against Wemby? Players like that, Walker Kessler, Zach Edey, like those players. Yes, the mobility leans the Hawks. They can be in transition. They can switch 1 through 5. Do they need a big man? Because coming off the bench, you got Zachary Ricochet, Corey Kispert, Jock Landale, who is 6'11", I'll give you, but he's kind of like a power forward to me. Do they need that 7-footer? Maybe they can use their 2026 pick, which is a lottery, to try and get a 7-footer out of college. Bring them low. But I like this Hawks pick, this Hawks team, because Jalen Johnson has emerged as one of the better players in the game. Jonathan Kuminga, I thought, has been one of the better forwards in the game. He just has been screwed over by Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors. So now, on a different team, new environment, he already put up 3 20-point games in a row. And that's on a team where Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a 20-point per game scorer. Jalen Johnson is too. They got a number 1 pick in Zachary Ricochet. Despite what you may think about him as a pick, still number 1 pick. So could he ever get to 20? We'll find out. But this Hawks team, hey, dog, they got a nice little squad on them. Versatility out the yin-yang. I'm telling you, you have to pay attention to the Hawks. Because I honestly, and I genuinely mean this, I honestly can see the Hawks hitting a number 1 seed in the East next year off of talent. Execution is one thing, but off talent, they have the ability to be a number 1 seed in the East. You don't believe me? All right, cool. Watch. Because again, Dyson can score and defend. Nickeil can score and defend. Kuminga can score and defend. Jalen Johnson can score and defend. Onyeka Okongwu can score and defend. They can play 5 out, 4 out, 1 in. They can do a lot of different packages on offense. And on defense, they can switch a lot. So, okay, cool. Do that pick and roll if you want to. We'll just switch it up. We got it. And the only time they're going to really be able to get killed is against a dominant big, which there aren't as many dominant bigs in the league as you might think. So the Hawks, I could see them being a top team off talent. Off production, I'm expecting that middle of the pack team, not play-in, but playoff team, like 4 seed, 5 seed. That's what I'm genuinely expecting starting next season. And maybe that's a bit premature. Maybe it's a bit premature for some of these teams I listed off. But I genuinely am looking forward to watching every team that I listed off. The Pacers, the Wizards, the Jazz, the Hornets, the Hawks. Next season, you have to lock in and see what they're doing. Are they going to win a championship? Probably not. But will they be entertaining? More than likely, especially if they're healthy. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm very curious. Who do you all look forward to watching just next season? I want to hear your thoughts. So please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, tell anyone who's anyone about the show. My name is Trae. I'm the host of Get a Bucket. I hope you are all having a good one. Take care.